Josh's severe weather. Good morning, everyone. Big time weather coming to us here over the next couple of weeks. Let's break it right down for you here. I'm going to share my screen. And you can see we are looking at major severe weather outbreaks, one towards the end of this week, carrying into the weekend. The next one right on its heels here towards the middle of next week. A lot of severe weather. We're looking likely at some tornadoes, some of which could be strong, widespread hail and wind damage, and a lot of people are going to be under the gun here over the next several days. Here is the outlook for Friday, and it's a large area of 30% severe weather from the Arklatex region right up the Mississippi River into the lower Ohio Valley, downstate Illinois, and all the way up into northern Illinois and eastern Iowa. A major severe weather outbreak expected here as we get to Friday, especially during the afternoon and Friday night. And there will likely be tornadoes, some of which could be strong somewhere here in the southern part of this region. There could also be tornadoes in the northern part of this area across Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois as well. And this may carry into Saturday as well. Now, in the shorter term, things are going to be a little bit quieter, fortunately for us, so we can catch our breath, but there's still a marginal risk for severe weather today into this afternoon and evening over the Gulf Coast states, deep South Texas, Louisiana, on over into northern Florida. Tomorrow should be quieter across most of the area. We could see a few pop-up storms in South Florida. The West Coast, though, will begin to see our next storm system, and Thursday, things are a little bit slower to evolve, so there may be some overnight storms that could have the risk for hail and strong wind over the Red River Valley into central Oklahoma as well as central and eastern Nebraska. These will eventually move onto the Mississippi Valley by daybreak Friday. So if you're starting the day Friday with travel, you're likely dealing with thunderstorms in this area, but the severe threat is likely going to come as we get into Friday and into Friday night and maybe even Saturday. Right now, the Storm Prediction Center has a low risk for severe weather, or at least a low predictability, but I do think parts of the eastern United States are going to see severe weather. The next outbreak comes Tuesday. Right now, they're saying predictability too low. The reasoning for that is that the models do disagree some on how strong that next trough will be coming out on Tuesday. The European looks a lot more potent with the trough than the GFS, which has trended a little bit more zonal. But either way, I think we're going to be dealing with a severe weather outbreak. Here's why. You can see big time trough moving into California here tomorrow into Thursday. Very fast winds aloft right across the center of the country. We're looking at 120 knot winds at 500 millibars. Very intense, moving right through the St. Louis area. So a lot of severe weather with this expected. The mode of it is still a bit uncertain whether we're going to see supercells and then a strong line, or if we're going to see broken rain showers with embedded thunderstorms and then a line of maybe a derecho-like storm. But nonetheless, with this kind of wind, we are set up for major severe weather. So I want you all to be prepared for that. By the way, on Saturday, this upper low actually moves east-southeastward, and that could enhance the risk for severe weather here in the Northeast and possibly as well from the Carolinas down south. So Saturday afternoon, we have to watch out for the strength of this trough to bring potentially severe weather and maybe even some tornadoes into the Delaware Valley and the Mid-Atlantic region, as well as parts of the Southeast. That will leave us here. The next trough will move in and bring some rain and storms into the upper Midwest Monday into Monday night. But then Tuesday into Wednesday, our next trough continues to strengthen here across the central part of the country. This is from the GFS. If I showed you European here, it looks a lot more like yesterday. Oh my goodness, sorry. Whoops, here we go. The European, though, has a deeper trough kicking in here next week. You can see California and Nevada on Monday, and then it digs all the way down into Oklahoma and Texas here on Tuesday and Tuesday night. And right on into Wednesday, we're looking at a major trough cutting right across the Great Lakes. So some disagreement on the exact placement of this trough, but nonetheless, it's a strong and ample trough and will bring fast winds in here into an area that will have a richer amount of moisture in place. So the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th potentially for the East Coast are likely to see that second storm, which is going to cause us some problems. Here's the GFS model. You all can see things are building up here with a deepening low pressure system. That'll bring very heavy amounts of snow from the Dakotas into upper Michigan and intense amounts of rain and thunderstorms on the warm sector from Wisconsin all the way down into Mississippi and Tennessee. The timing of this has not really changed. It's a little bit slower to evolve later at night here, Thursday night. But we could see thunderstorms all the way out into the lower Ohio Valley, up into Indiana and Michigan, well out ahead of our low pressure system. And then here's where things get cranking Friday afternoon. Two areas to watch, one across eastern Iowa, moving into northern Illinois in the evening, southern Wisconsin as well. The other area to watch here over Arkansas, the Arklatex region, and that moves into northwestern Mississippi towards the end of the day on Friday. And then Friday night, we have to watch Kentucky, southern Indiana, Tennessee, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and possibly sneaking into northwestern Georgia around daybreak here on Saturday. By the way, as this low ejects up into Quebec and the trough strengthens, we could see another wave of potential severe weather over the Hudson and Delaware valleys here Saturday afternoon. In the southeast, details are a little bit more uncertain, but we have to watch the Carolinas and I think Georgia and southern Alabama as well, as this front's going to kind of stall out. We saw that happen this past weekend. We'll watch this front on Sunday, but I think as we get to Monday, maybe a better chance for some severe weather over Georgia and Alabama. And then our next big storm gets ready to get going here over the southern and central plains Tuesday into Wednesday. The GFS is farther south with the low track, which would be more concerning for Dixie Alley. It also brings some snow over Kansas and northern Missouri up into the Great Lakes and eventually into eastern Canada. So we'll have to watch this for potential tornadoes in the southeast by Wednesday, the 5th. However, the European model looks more like yesterday's GFS. And you'll see that here in just a second. Obviously, our first big storm here is going to have a lot of severe weather with it, but kind of a challenging forecast as to the fact that we've got one area out ahead of the next area. And of course, one big area of storms can kind of rob the instability from the second area of storms. So that's something that we still have to be concerned with when it comes to making the actual forecast. But if you look at the European, it looks pretty intense here over the Carolinas, Georgia, into northern Florida Saturday morning. But we also see a second area to watch here Saturday afternoon over even parts of western New England, but eastern New York down into the mid-Atlantic region. Quite a powerful trough moving through, very quick height falls and intense winds as well. So a big wind maker, potentially a severe weather maker in the northeast here on Saturday. And then right behind it, we see a change over to wet snow Saturday afternoon and evening. Here's our next storm system on the European model. You can see it really gets going here, and it's going to be in one piece versus the GFS, which had kind of a two-piece system with piece one here and piece two down here. The European says, this is going to be just a repeat of the one that we're about to get here on Friday. And you can see this is a major area of winter weather over the Dakotas, northern Minnesota into Ontario. It's also a major wind maker and also a major severe weather maker here across much of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, right on down into Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And this continues into the 5th here with the threat for some severe weather over the southeast, but also locally strong winds once again across New England and the northeast here Wednesday afternoon and evening. So the weather pattern stays very, very complex, but it also stays very unsettled. And you can look here at the Energy Helicity Index. This highlights the area we have to watch for tornadoes. And Friday afternoon, it's got Mississippi, northeast Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and western Tennessee under the gun, and an area as well over northeastern Missouri into western Illinois, eastern Iowa, maybe far southern parts of Wisconsin. St. Louis could be in on this. We'll have to see if we've got two areas that kind of go on both sides of you, but certainly Friday night in Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky, we have to watch out for potential tornadoes. And then here's Saturday, and you'll see there is some threat for some rotating storms over parts of Pennsylvania, New York, and Maryland, and maybe into Delaware Saturday afternoon, falling apart when it gets to New England towards Saturday evening. We also are watching the Carolinas, and we're watching parts of Texas here on Saturday afternoon and into the early evening. It'll be quieter in the east, but here we go, two pieces to watch. One will be Sunday night into Monday over parts of the southern plains. And then as we get more into Tuesday and Wednesday, perhaps a bigger threat across much of the southeast and into the Ohio River Valley as well. This is the GFS, but the run before it is farther north and west from what I remember. Let me pull that up for you here. And of course, it jumps around. Yeah. So you can see here, the threat is going to be farther back across the southern plains and then carrying up into the Ohio River Valley and Tennessee River Valleys on Wednesday. So the 4th into the 5th is likely our time frame for major severe weather. Tough to say right now how that storm's going to play out, but nonetheless, we see a lot of lightning with both of these storms. Here's storm one right across the center part of the country here on Friday. Lots of lightning. As it moves east, it does kind of split into two pieces. The northeast could get hit pretty hard here, though, including Philadelphia, Reading, maybe west of New York City into Albany, New York. on Saturday afternoon, as well as the southeast. We've got to watch the Carolinas, Georgia, into northern Florida, and maybe even west central Texas. Here comes storm number 2. This is the 4th. Lots of lightning in the afternoon and evening from Minnesota and Michigan and Wisconsin all the way into Texas. Just a huge storm. You don't really see a trough this strong too often, but we could see multiple hundreds of severe weather reports out of this storm on the 4th and 5th. So definitely something to watch here. And as I zoom in and show you here, this is Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening. We'll see storms erupting here over the northern plains as well as down in Texas and in Oklahoma. But as we get to Friday, here's when we really have to watch for severe weather. Lots of lightning, lots of wind shear, lots of energy in play here, and that will eventually spread south and east. Texas could have more storms over the weekend, same for Louisiana. But as we get into Monday and especially Tuesday, things blow up once again, and this is insane. We see lots of lightning strikes from Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin all the way down into central and south Texas. Just lots of lightning with this, so it's going to be causing damage no matter what, but dangerous travel expected on the 4th and into the 5th. All right, so let's take a look here at the next day or so. We see storms down on the central Gulf Coast. We've had some severe weather reports near Lake Jackson, Texas overnight, as well as near the Mobile Bay area. This will spread east into eastern Alabama, southern Georgia, and northern Florida as we get through this afternoon into tonight. There could be some severe weather, including hail and locally strong winds. You guys can see things will be evolving here this morning over the central Gulf states. And it looks like southeast Alabama, southwest Georgia may be under the gun here by lunchtime into early afternoon. And then in Florida, we got to watch northern Florida. I think it stays mostly north of Orlando tonight, but we'll see additional storms popping up over South Florida tomorrow on this lingering boundary and maybe hitting Miami and Fort Lauderdale tomorrow evening around 7 or 8 o'clock. And then things will be pretty quiet. Also, we do see the threat for rain and a few thunderstorms crossing North Carolina here this evening. Around the Charlotte area around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, Raleigh 8 to 9 o'clock, and then places like Fayetteville on eastward towards Greenville and New Bern tonight will be around between 9 and about 11. Nothing severe at that point, but something we'll have to watch, maybe some noisy storms here. A close look at Florida. You see the Panhandle is going to get hit in 2 waves here today into tonight. And then South Florida gets hit tomorrow in the afternoon on the West Coast and in the evening on the East Coast. And we do need this rain badly around Miami, so that definitely a chance. Back into Texas and Louisiana, you can see that wave 1 moves out of here. We have more storms set to pop up. Nothing really too severe this afternoon, but we'll have to keep an eye on Brownsville and Corpus Christi. We do need that rain. And then also over East Texas, some scattered showers and maybe a few isolated thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon into the evening, but really Thursday and Friday is going to be our best time shot for some heavy amounts of rain and thunderstorms. California is going to get hit. We have an intense low moving all the way down the coast, going all the way south to San Diego on Thursday. We're going to get battered with flooding rain, very heavy mountain snow, which concerns me in the longer term. The more we see this snow piling up, the more flooding we'll have when it all starts melting here next month into May in central California. So definitely concerned about all that snow. But that storm moves out. The next one hits the northwest, it looks like, over the weekend. And then our bigger push comes in on Tuesday, and that's going to lead to our more unsettled weather farther east. You can see here the GFS model, big dynamic storm system here. Lots of snow over the Dakotas and Minnesota and the Lake Superior region. We could see blizzard conditions early Friday evening, it looks like. And then that moves out. The next storm clips the area on Monday, and then the bigger storm comes through on Tuesday into Wednesday. And the GFS is still kind of dancing around with where the storm's going to be on Tuesday, but it looks like a big one here. The European shows some pretty intense amounts of snow coming through the upper Midwest here on Friday into Saturday, maybe over a foot in parts of Michigan, 3 to 6 inches around Minneapolis and those areas. Here comes the next one, and the European, much farther north than the latest GFS, the threat for over 20 inches in the Dakotas, and 15 inches in Montana, and then as well as northern parts of Minnesota. Just a huge storm expected here through the middle parts of next week. The GFS does not agree on the placement, though. It's got it coming through Denver and then over northern Missouri and even into Chicago. I tend to lean more towards the European at this point, but we'll have to wait and see because things can definitely change. And out west, we'll see incredible amounts of snow piling up to as much as 90 to 100 new inches here. This is the GFS, and you can see the next 2 storms are going to batter the Dakotas and especially the Superior region. And we've had a ton of snow already this winter slash spring, if you want to call it that. It's going to continue to be the case into April here. Definitely Ontario, upper Michigan, the threat for significant snow. And then Quebec will see major amounts of snow. And even Toronto could see a little snow out of this, but I think it's mainly going to be north of the St. Lawrence here. So I appreciate y'all's time today. Still tons to unpack here, lots of details still to go into, but I appreciate your time. And if you could subscribe to my channel if you're new here, I very much appreciate that. I'll have another video for you all in the morning. And I just thank you for your time. I ask for everybody's safety. I pray for it. And I want to give all the glory to God, who has given me the strength to do this every day, to continue to drive forward no matter what the weather is. The Lord said to Joshua 1:9, "This is my command, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And that is the boldness that drives me to do what I do every day. That's my calling, to just be bold and to give you guys what I think could be really bad weather. Not give you the weather, but give you the forecast, obviously. And even if it's months out, still just to do my very best and to lean on God and not to try to lean on myself. It's humbling, and God continues to humble me, but continues to give me the strength to do what I can. And I really hope that you are a person who believes in God and knows that He's created you to be strong and courageous no matter what you do. But if you are not a believer, I've been there. For 30 years of my life, I was not a believer. Up until about 10 years ago, I finally accepted God through Jesus Christ. And I want to pray for you if that is the situation you're in, where you just don't quite know what you're looking for, but you know something needs to change. So if you have any prayer requests, please list them. I'm happy to pray for you and any others. And I really much thank you for your time today. Go out and have a wonderful day today. It is the day that the Lord has made. God bless you. See you again in the morning.